There are some nights where even a single sound is enough to stop your heart. Two students hiding in the dark basement of a school, an injured child locked inside a locker, and a young man realizing he wasn't alone in his hotel room. The three true lockdown stories you're about to hear show how ordinary nights can suddenly turn into complete nightmares. If you're ready, let's get into the video. I was 17 years old, a sophomore in high school. My school day had 9 periods. 5th period was lunch, and right after that I had astronomy class. My astronomy class was held in one of the 3 classrooms in the basement of the school. My high school was huge. It had 5 floors, but even that wasn't enough to fit all the classes. So the school built 3 classrooms in the basement. It was pretty creepy down there when nobody else was around. It used to be a janitor area, but it had been remodeled to look more like a normal hallway. The only problem was that there were no intercoms or loudspeakers in the basement. Because of that, no classes were held there during the morning announcements. Everyone called that small basement section the chamber. People actually wanted classes down there because it had air conditioning, the classes were easier, and it even had its own sink area. That day we had a short quiz in astronomy. I was usually one of the first people done because I found the class easy. After I finished the quiz, I texted my friend JJ from the other basement classroom and told him to meet me in the bathroom. He agreed. I left the classroom and walked down the small hallway to the bathroom. A few minutes later, JJ came in. We joked around for a while. Then JJ looked at his phone and said someone texted him saying the school was going into lockdown. We both looked at each other and grinned. Neither of our teachers had noticed we left class. That meant we basically had free range of the school during the lockdown. Just for fun, we decided to go upstairs and check out the hallways. At worst, we could just say we never heard the announcements in the basement classrooms. When we opened the basement door and stepped onto the main floor, we got a little nervous seeing all the lights turned off. The hallways were almost completely pitch black except for a faint light coming from the end of the corridor. This was serious because normally the lights stayed on during lockdowns. Something felt wrong, and suddenly we weren't comfortable walking around anymore. JJ stepped forward a little and I followed him. Then he looked down the hallway and said, "Who's that?" I looked too, and a man was emerging from the darkness. At first we couldn't tell if he was a teacher, but as he got closer we realized he looked nothing like school staff. He looked like some kind of drifter. "Come on, let's go," I said, and we rushed back down to the basement. Whoever he was, he definitely saw us. All 3 classroom doors were closed and the lights were off. To avoid causing a scene, we decided to hide in the bathroom. The first thing I did was shut off the light, and we both hid inside the corner stall. The room was completely silent. There was no ventilation noise or anything else. The only sounds were me and JJ breathing and the occasional drip of water from the sink. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened, and light from the hallway briefly flooded the room. Then the door closed again, and everything went dark once more. JJ and I tried to control our breathing. It was so quiet that we could hear someone walking toward our side of the bathroom. The person stopped and started breathing heavily, like he was out of breath. We were both frozen in fear. JJ leaned close and whispered that we needed to crawl through the other stalls to get out. But the room was so silent that even his whisper could be heard. The heavy breathing outside suddenly stopped, and someone started forcing the stall door open. I whispered, "Go!" We crawled under the divider into the next stall, then the next one, and finally reached the other side of the bathroom. By then, the man was slamming against the stall door. We jumped up, opened the bathroom door, and when the hallway light filled the room, we saw the man standing in the corner. We started pounding on JJ's classroom door. The teacher let us in within seconds. JJ explained everything while the teacher locked the door. He mentioned seeing a gun sticking out of the man's pocket. I hadn't seen a gun myself, but I went along with it. Normally, high school students would laugh at something like this, but everyone sitting in the corner looked genuinely terrified. Then a loud bang hit the classroom door and made everyone jump. A few girls screamed in fear. JJ, the teacher, and I could see the man standing outside the door. He was looking through the window and trying the doorknob. After angrily banging on the door a few more times, he turned around and walked back toward the stairs. I don't know how long the lockdown lasted, but we sat there silently for over an hour. The teacher occasionally asked me and JJ questions in a worried voice. Eventually, someone upstairs called the teacher and told us to leave the building in a single file line. Police officers were waiting outside. JJ and I did our best to describe the man. One of the officers patted me on the back and sent us home. After that incident, the school installed cameras everywhere and increased the security budget. The incident never made the news, so we never found out if the man was ever caught. To this day, I believe that man intended to kill us in that bathroom stall. I'm a retired police officer from New Jersey. During my 18 years on the force, the most disturbing call I ever responded to was a lockdown at a nearby middle school. It was a rainy and dark day. Dispatch reported that a suspicious man had stepped out of a white van and entered the school through the back door. I arrived at the back parking lot of the school, and the van was still there. Nobody was inside, and all the doors were locked. I opened the red back door leading into the gym hallway. The lights inside the school were off, and the entire place was dark. I moved through the halls using my flashlight. When I reached the lobby, a woman quietly stepped out of the office and warned me to be careful because the man could be armed. I called for backup and was told units were already on the way. I quietly opened the boys' locker room door. There were no windows inside, so the room was completely dark except for the beam of my flashlight. Over the humming sound of the ventilation system, I could hear faint scratching noises and metallic tapping sounds coming from the lockers. I was supposed to announce myself as a police officer, but honestly, I was scared. The tension in that room was unreal. No matter where I stood, the noises seemed to come from the opposite side of the room. While standing near the bathroom entrance, the sudden slam of a locker from another section made me jump. I followed the sound and realized it came from the football team's locker room. Finally, I shouted, "Police!" That's when a child suddenly screamed for help. His voice sounded muffled. He was banging from inside a locker. The moment I realized the boy was trapped inside a locker, my stomach dropped. I told him I'd be right back and ran outside. The white van was gone. My biggest mistake was not getting the plate number immediately. I radioed dispatch and told them to be on the lookout for the van. Then I went back inside and instructed the school staff to end the school day and send someone with a key to unlock the locker. I believe the man had been trying to force the child into his van at knife point. The boy had cuts on his arm from resisting. A week later, the van was spotted in a 7-Eleven parking lot, and the suspect was arrested after being identified. I was staying at a Hampton Inn in New Jersey while visiting Rowan University, a college I was considering attending. After finishing the campus tour, I grabbed something to eat and returned to the hotel around 8 p.m. About an hour later, a strange alarm started going off inside my room. A bright white light on the ceiling began flashing. Then an announcement started repeating, "All Hampton Inn guests, please remain in your rooms. This is a lockdown." I had never even heard of a hotel lockdown before. Honestly, I thought it was more interesting than scary at first. The alarm eventually stopped, but the white light kept flashing. I turned on the TV, changed into pajamas, brushed my teeth, and got into bed. The light was still flashing brightly every few seconds. Just as I was thinking about calling the front desk, the phone rang. The woman at the front desk told me to stay calm and leave the room immediately. I asked her what was happening, and she told me there was someone inside the room with me. I dropped the phone and immediately started looking around. I checked under the bed and inside the bathroom, but nobody was there. Then I noticed the sliding closet door next to the bathroom. It was slightly open, and through the crack I could see a human face staring back at me. At first my brain didn't even process what I was seeing. But when the door slowly slid shut, I panicked and ran out of the room. The hotel staff later showed me security footage of a suspicious man wandering the hallways looking for a specific room. When he reached my room, he used a keycard he somehow managed to get and entered. I stayed there while police officers led him away in handcuffs. He was a short man, probably in his 40s. As he walked past me, he looked directly at me like he already knew exactly who I was. Thinking back on it now is terrifying. That man may have been watching me from inside that closet for over an hour.